after the Big Bang, it actually allows the universe to because you think about, we didn't come into the scene of the creation of the universe, at least on this planet, until over 13.5 billion years later. And if you think, this is like the ultimate Zen question. If there's the saying, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's seeing it fall, is it falling? And it's the same question to a quantum physicist is, if nobody is observing the quantum universe, is it even happening? And then you think of the creation of the universe, which lasted over 13.5 billion years before organic life was formed. If nobody was watching it, and scientists are recording the first 100 millionth of a second, they're measuring down into femtoseconds, nanoseconds to the first second after the Big Bang. Then they get to the cosmic microwave background radiation, the formations of the spiral galaxies and the stars, and then the stars are producing fusion, and they're giving birth to all the periodic table of elements, and then eventually planets. If nobody's watching all that, then it's not happening. And so to answer your question, is it alive? I actually believe I've seen enough evidence in both the spiritual, in describing, for example, the 9 levels of superconsciousness that get into these larger and larger cosmic spheres or rings of consciousness, that this consciousness actually exists somewhere, that everything that is going on in the Milky Way galaxy is being stored in the memory of the hydrogen atoms in the spiraling gas fields where microspirals are formed and where stars are born. Now, this is really a simple story. I'll tell you to kind of equate to that. I was at my DVD manufacturer, Duplium, in Texas, and he's showing me how whole movies, are pressed into what we know are CDs or DVDs. Mm-hmm. And he shows me the machine actually making them. It's just a droplet of plastic spins on this disc, and he says your entire movie is in that plastic. And then a thin mirror coating goes on the bottom. The laser scans through and bounces off the mirror on the bottom through the plastic and reads it, and then on your TV screen you're seeing this whole movie. Well,
it is amazing, isn't it?
Plastic has memory. This whole movie you're watching, the sound, the pictures, and the absolute pristineness on your big plasma, that's in a sheet of plastic. So for scientists who don't believe water has memory, just look at ordinary plastic. It has memory. So I look at the spiraling arms on the Milky Way galaxy as kind of like the grooves on a phonographic record. This is the universal hard drive. And when you see that hydrogen, our bodies are made mostly of water. Kurt Wuthrich, who won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2002, he shared the prize. He's one of the strong proponents for the realization that water has memory. This is a Nobel Prize winner, and one of the things he says, and I think it's kind of funny in Water, the Great Mystery, is your head is full of water. And this water communicates telepathically, instantaneously. So they do this experiment, conducted by Leonid Izvakov in Russia, and this is an actual experiment in telepathy. They take 2 human beings at great distances, over 3,000 miles apart, and they're hooking their brains up to EEGs and electrocardiograms and measuring all their vital signs. And these 2 people are going to attempt to make contact through telepathy. And even though you can't read, what is the thought the person is sending, they can analyze the exact precision of the waveforms in the data in the brain waves. And as soon as the experiment begins, instantaneously, over thousands of miles, this other person is measuring the exact same brainwave patterns as the sender, the receiver. So this action at a distance thing has been tested with humans. It's been tested with bodies of water. We see an experiment done in the 1930s that demonstrates action at a distance, which is instantaneous communication between the sun and the earth, the little microbes in the water. That was Alexander Jajewski. And we see that, for example, this is even done in radionics healing, where we take a sample of a person's blood, and a radionics healer is at sometimes a great distance away from their client, and they use tuning forks, and they send vibrational frequencies into the person's blood. This was discovered by Ruth Drown. At a distance, that person would receive that frequency, and it would heal them. Healing at a distance. But what's amazing about all the experiments with living systems and non-living systems, if we consider, for those who don't believe water is alive, even experiments all using atomic clocks, for example, there was an experiment done where they took a blood sample from a man and they separated his blood at a distance. They hooked his blood up to all these super sensors, and then they hit the guy in the shin. Somebody banged him in the shin with a little 2x4, and it hurt. He goes ouch, and his blood responds instantly at a distance. So what this is starting, what I'm starting to get excited about all this, and I mentioned this briefly, is that, oh my God, there's something else besides light. There's something that it's not just accidental. It's every single time we see these experiments, whether on astrophysical great distances or small distances between living things, there's something communicating instantaneously, and that means this thing that's communicating instantaneously is the water in our bodies, the water in our earth, the hydrogen in our sun, the possibility that the reason the sun is heating up right now and contributing to global warming because it senses in the communication with the Earth's oceans that they're in danger. So what happens in your own body when you have a virus? You get a fever, you get hotter to burn off the virus. So I think it's all connected. And if we could tune into how water, hydrogen, is sensing this intelligent information instantaneously, we may get a new picture of our universe. That's where this is going.
David, what made the scientists, someone like Dr. Emoto, even think about this?
Well, to even think about it, I think it really does go all the way back to the 1927 Solvay Conference in physics. And that is when that question was taken on, and the answers were not satisfactory. The thing that frustrated physicists was that you couldn't quantify consciousness in a mathematical formula because consciousness is so random and so unpredictable that it really, Einstein even admitted his own theory of relativity falls apart at the quantum level. You cannot predict anything. Quantum physicists get excited when they're even close to 1% predictability. And it's really amazing. It's kind of the same way in the world of psychic predictions. Sometimes you're accurate and sometimes everything changes because somebody changes their mind. I even believe if there was an intention right now to, say, start a war, with Russia, let's just say that was an intention. If that intention went out, people might start having dreams and visions of nuclear bombs, which I actually know people who are having these kind of dreams right now. And then all of a sudden, we realize, oh my God, that's the craziest thing in the world we could possibly do is go into a war with Russia. In fact, we built a space station together. We built the tokamak fusion reactors together. We've done some of the greatest things together. It would be crazy to go to war with them. Plus, they have the biggest nuclear weapons ever built. So we decide we're not going to do it. So all the people who have the visions, because the visions go into consciousness and that consciousness transmits itself, they make a prediction and it doesn't happen because somebody changes their mind. It's kind of similar to that in the quantum universe. And I really believe that Einstein, in his famous statement that I quoted earlier, is admitting it. He's admitting that there is a consciousness in the universe. But I don't think Einstein lived long enough to know that it was happening with water. Now, when you get into the idea of how do you restructure water and how is water given its informational language and what can we do by encoding water and hydrogen with different languages, now that's where it starts to get much, much more exciting.
And you were also saying right before the break that intentions, that music has the ability to change water. Let's talk a little bit about Emoto's experiments. First of all, isn't music subjective? What you might think is good music, I might not, and vice versa. But what makes the water determine what is good, what is bad? Because I've seen Emoto's pictures of the water crystals taken when he plays